So we're back for day 2 of the Dublin Racing Festival. Took a little bit longer than anticipated for day 1, but what you want to see, you want to hear the debate, you want to hear our truthful opinions. So, truthfully speaking, on Sunday, we're going to skip the handicaps. Got no interest in them. There's nothing that really jumps out, although I haven't given them that much of an in-depth look. But straight onto the Spring Juvenile Grade 1. Arguably the single best line of form going into the Cheltenham Triumph proper. It's a really nice race year after year. This year, I don't want to play it down because I think Aspire Tower is a really good horse, but it just doesn't look as potentially great a renewal as we've seen in previous years. I like it when they're a bit more competitive. But that said, Aspire Tower just looks an absolute good thing. You'd have to go a hard way to convince me that this horse gets beat tomorrow. Cerberus was so well beaten by All Mankind at Chepstow. Kind of expected a little bit more from him there. I would have loved to have seen him come to Cheltenham on Trials Day because what an opportunity. That was a trash juvenile Cheltenham experience. They missed a trick by not declaring him there, and I don't know why they didn't. A Wave of the Sea for Joseph O'Brien. He's a horse I like a little bit. He's Fred Wintermark. He's 132 in Ireland. Handicapper normally gives them £9 for juveniles for those sort of things. I reckon that might be the sort of place that he's going. The interesting thing with him is he was 5-2 favourite the last day behind Aspire Tower. When they put cheap pieces off, they have quickly come back off. So that obviously didn't work for him. The fact they were reaching for him in the first place worries me. Any juvenile that wears headgear is a big no-no for me. But Aspire Tower just absolutely bolts up. He's one as well that this week, on Monday, he was still 7-1 for the Triumph. So the support's come in for him. I just think he wins this. You can't be backing him at 1-2 to win this, but I would be quite happy to be backing him or sticking him in a few multiples for the Triumph in March. So, Stephen, what do you make of the race?
I think Aspire Tower is going to be extremely hard to beat. He's rated 88 on the flat, pretty high. Won both his hurdle starts by a wide margin, despite doing quite a lot of things wrong. He did jump much better last time out, of course, in distance. He looks a high-class horse without a shadow of a doubt, and he's definitely going to be hard to beat here. But I do like Never Do Anything. He was actually rated higher than Aspire Tower on the flat, 90 plus. He won well on his hurdles debut last time, and he could be one to reward each way backers at a nice price.
Yeah, and that was at Musselbury, wasn't it, when he came over and won his race there. The ground, to be fair, is looking like it's yielding to soft. There might be a little bit more rain, and I was worried the ground might come too slow for him, but it probably will be all right. And to be fair, you could be right. Cerberus maybe looks like he's next best. Wolf Prince has got a bit to find, but again, looks like he could be sort of next bestie. Wave of the Sea could be there or thereabouts, but with 10 runners in the race, you're rewarded for each way places first 3. You get a better return for that than you would do back in Aspire Tower. But Daryl, you're with me on this, surely. Just lump it on.
Yeah. There's absolutely no reason to take this Aspire Tower on. I said a few weeks back when we was doing a preview that he looks like a real nice type. Just trying to think of anything for each way money. Wolf Prince in here is 8-1. He beat another horse in here called Hammersmith last time, Berry House, by 1 1/4 lengths. Hammersmith's 28-1. He's only had the 2 starts. There's every reason that he could step forward again next time. I don't think the rest of these are up to much, to be honest with you. Never Do Nothing obviously looked quite impressive at Musselburgh. Interesting that they pitch him in here this deep, this early. But Hammersmith, 28-1, maybe able to make the frame. 3 places, 28-1. Not got much to find with Wolf Prince, who's 8-1. So, but I wouldn't be taking on Aspire Tower. It'd be just looking for something to get into the frame and hit a place, perhaps.
Absolutely, and I think it's one of them because he's a short price. People are sticking in their muggy yackers, all those bits and pieces. I just wouldn't even be interested in that. If you want to stick him in a bet, just back him for the Triumph now. I reckon. The only thing with Hammersmith, because I looked at him, he's 40s you can get now, so that's a good thing for you. He's an even bigger price, but he's got a £7 swing with Wolf Prince for that last run. But had as many runs he could get there, and he is arguably too big a price. But no need to take on Aspire Tower. Just sit back and enjoy and watch that bad boy. I think we will move on to the next grade 1. So straight bang after this, we've just had the juveniles going over 2 miles. Now we've got the big kids going out to play. So the Chanel Farmer Novice Hurdle, grade 1, good pointers towards the Supreme. Typically get the best Irish, like the 2 milers running in here. Obviously, there's no Envoy Land, there's no Abracadabras. Bits of murmurs going on about Abracadabras, what's up with him, drifts in the Supreme market, all those bits and pieces. So that's slightly unsettling for backers of him, but it wouldn't worry me until they've come out and said something. The only thing that does worry me, I've got him in a couple of doubles at 14s, nothing interesting really. But Bet365 have suspended the cash outs on him in the Supreme and only him. The other horses are back in the Supreme, you can still cash out on. They did exactly the same with Saudia before Willie Mullins came out and said that he had a setback. So there could be something in it, but I don't know. No smoke without fire, they say, don't they? But anywho, the horses that are running in here, I'm so excited about this one. So do you know what I reckon? I'm going to sit back. I'm going to let someone else go first because I am so excited. But just off the bat, anybody that backs short-term anti-post has to be a little bit nutty. And I think we all are victims of it every now and again. If you see a bit of value, I just have to take my hats off to the people that backed easy work in the week. Because he was 6-7 to 1. Even when the gamble started coming in, he was like 3-4 to 1, all those bits and pieces. Anyone that had the balls to risk a bit of money on there, then fair play, you've definitely got the value. But he ain't going to win. But anyway, right, Stephen, you go first. Tell me what's going to win this. Predict the race.
My choice is Blue Sarah. Yeah, it might be. I know he ran absolutely awful last time, but he was a really smart bumper horse. He's the only horse that's gotten so close to Envoy Allen, and that was when he was second in the champion bumper and only his second career start, so that was a really good effort. I don't know what happened with him last time, but you can always forgive him for one bad run.
Yeah.
If he'd have run well that last day, I think he'd be favourite for this race. I really like him. I do think he's a really good Grade 1 horse on his best form. I think he's definitely worth another chance here.
Because I thought he looked like he might end up being the JP McManus Supreme horse, and then we're looking for a Willie Mullins horse, and I thought, you know what, JP Willie Mullins, it ticked the box. Much like when I thought the same for Unaccepted, which obviously didn't work out quite as well. You've got to forgive him for that last one, but obviously it's just strange how bad he was and whether he's turned the corner and he's gone downhill or whatever. About 6 to 1 for this race, isn't he? And there's only the 7 runners, but I can see why you can make a case for him. Is there anyone else you like in there? Easy Work, do you think he's the right favourite now?
Not really. I'll probably have Asterion Forlonge over him instead.
Well done.
Yeah, I mean, he scrambled home in his sole start in the bumper, but then he went and won by 10 lengths on his hurdles debut last time. He's got serious potential. I think he'd definitely be a better horse when he goes up in distance, but he'll have the pace to cope with this. Representing last year's winning stable. I mean, the only negative is probably Paul Ten and riding instead because he's riding Mr. Leinster, but David Mullins is riding better than most this season, and I think he's got a good chance.
Yeah, I think so. Daryl, you go then, because I can't wait to get stuck into it. Go.
It's the assembled form line again, isn't it? Aston Ferrolange. Got to be. This horse looks pretty useful. I'd just be concerned about what they're going to do tactics-wise. And Easy Work likes to lead. Now, Aston Ferrolange doesn't have to lead, but you'd think, considering that they said they was going to step him up in trip next time out, you'd think that he'd be going hell for leather off the front end here. I wonder if they will he will get an easy lead. That's the most interesting. I think at the prices you have to play Asterion Ferrolange here. Easy Work holds Mount Leicester on recent form, and yeah, if you go back to to his point-to-point win, he beat Assemble. Every horse I spoke about tonight has got some sort of form line through at each other. But yeah, it's interesting that Paul Townend is on Mount Leicester, though. What do you make of that?
Well, they talked about him, didn't they? They've named it after the mountain they can see from the stables. They were saving the name for a special horse. Patrick Mullins rode him to the death, didn't he? They got one bumper win out of him. He's finally won a race, is probably what they're thinking. He's turned the corner. This is his time. He's going to shine. They've got it wrong. And this is where, and I could be wrong, I'm not, I've got this right. This is where jockeys like Paul Townend, he's a fantastic jockey, don't get me wrong. He's not worthy of filling in for Ruby's boots, but no one would be. But he's a very good jockey, don't get me wrong. But these are the decisions that Ruby Wolves wouldn't be getting wrong. He'd be riding Min for starters in the champion chase. He wouldn't have gone for Chacon Poursoir. And in this race here, I know Mount Leicester's got the experience, and I know that he's got a fairly closely matched with the favourite that's been backed. He would have gone for Asterion Forlonge here. He'd have gone for the proper horse. And I think that horse is absolutely going to bolt up. The one slight niggle in the back of my mind is I had this horse penciled down as an Albert Bartlett type. Obviously, he had a long break before he had that bumper run. It was 4s on. I don't really care that he only just won that day because he was given £8 to the second. I thought, you know what, he's won. That actually impressed me a little bit. And I like with Albert Bartlett horses that they show some 2 mile speed. So he stuck him in that 2 mile hurdle, and I thought, right, just get the job done. You don't need to do anything too fancy. And I've like seriously this season I haven't seen a faster horse over 2 miles. But I don't know whether actually on the clock, time wise, all that sort of stuff. But like visually looking at him, Jesus Christ, he just looked so quick. Now, Racing Blogger has been doing loads of stuff over in Ireland at the minute, and these are like stupid little stuff, but lots of little things that I like to read into. So, beginning of the season, Cheveley Park Stud put a video up of Gordon Elliott stables. Malone Road was leading Envoy Allena. So, not necessarily saying that that's the rank that they've got them in, but normally at a yard, you want your best horses out up top. Asterion Forlons, when Racing Blogger was there the other day, was out leading about 25 horses working. And to be fair, he was leading them by quite some way. So whether they chose to put him out front or whether he just put himself there, I actually do think he's maybe surprised him in that 2 mile performance like he did with me. I think they're looking at him that he's a serious horse. And the other thing that I think is really interesting is John Donnelly's got an embarrassment of novice hurdlers this season. Shishkin's been well supported for the Supreme. That might have happened because there might be word about abracadabras, might be reading too much into that. But they're not going to Sandown tomorrow. They're going to go for the Sydney Bank Memorial at Huntingdon, which is 2 mile 3 furlongs. They're also talking about the Dovecote, which is where I think Chantry House is going to go. I reckon they're actually thinking, hang on a minute, let's let Asterion Forlons go and run in this 2 mile. And if he goes and bolts up, Shishkin can fuck off in the Ballymore, I reckon. And it's going to be their Supreme horse. Don't know that for a fact. They could have just run both of them on the same day. It could just be a prep run. But I was so impressed with his performance the last day. Easy Work and Mount Leicester were so close to each other when they came against each other, and I don't think Mount Leicester's that good a horse, so that's why I can't really have Easy Work at the price. Nothing else in there potentially could be good. Blue Sari, I agree. I thought he could be Supreme contender, but it was so bad the last day. But Asterion Forlons has just done nothing wrong. Go on, Daryl, tell me to shut up.
No, I'm not saying shut up. I totally agree with you. I had him earmarked down as an Albert Bartlett horse as well. The moment I saw him powering away, I thought Albert Bartlett straight away. That was my initial reaction. Then I was trying to work out his horses, where they're going to send them. Now he's got one horse that's not going to make the grade, I don't think. But they've got the big getaway as well, haven't they?
Yeah. He'll go Ballymore.
He'll go Ballymore. So you would expect if they win this with him, he's going to go immediately to the Supreme. I don't think he's dab-handed, is he, for the Supreme, Willie Mullins this year? He normally has a hot pot, doesn't he?
Well, that's it. And sometimes it can be this particular meeting or this particular race where something comes out and does it. I just feel the worst case scenario for Asterion Forlons is here. He gets beat and then he might go and run in something like the Albert Bartlett. But when we're looking at the head of the market, Shishkin's a 4-1 poke now. He might not even go for the Supreme. Asterion Forlons is still 14-1 any race with William Hill. If he wins this, he'll probably end up being near enough favourite for a Supreme anyway. So your 14-1's good value. If he gets beaten here, it doesn't mean he's a bad horse. They might just stick him somewhere else. If he goes to Ballymore, he's not going to beat Envoy, is he? But
that would be your only concern, though, wouldn't it? With Shishkin and the big getaway, are they going to send both of them to the Ballymore?
Well, that's the question, and that's why I thought this. Well, not just for like slotting those sort of horses in, but they talk about the big getaway. Ruby Walsh is the one that said that he's going to go for the Ballymore, and just because of how he won the last day, but he could probably step up and go for an Albert Bartlett.
I agree.
Shishkin, Nico de Boinville's already said wants to step up, and it might just be the case that none of these are 2 milers, and they're just trying to force it for the sake of forcing it. But I just think it's really interesting how visually quick he was in that last run. You know what it's like. You'll go horse racing, you'll just see something, and you'll get a gut feeling about something. And my gut feeling about him before was he's an Albert Bartlett type, and then as soon as he's gone and done that, he just looks like he could actually be a proper 2 miler. And we know it doesn't need to be said again. The amount of Supreme winners that go on and win over longer trips further down the line, yeah. I think he could be special. And I know Easy Work keeps winning, but his last 2 wins are on heavy ground. He wears a hood as well. It's just all bad stuff. And the other thing about him is it's a Gigginstown 2 miler. Gigginstown just don't win over 2 miles, do they? Tiger Roll won the triumph. That's about it. They've had a couple of places in a Supreme in their career. They ain't going to win they might win an Arkle with note for it, but they don't seem to buy horses that are 2 miles and they're trained for it. I think they just want Gold Cup winners.
I'll do the times for you and send them over to you. Let you know how quick he was.
But yeah, he was quick to my eye anyway. Don't send it if it's bad. We'll just talk about it. Yeah, I'm quite keen on him, and I still think 9 to 2 is a bit of value. 14 to 1 on any race is decent. He's 33 to 1 for the Supreme, which potentially after this race could look massive. But I still just think the 14s any race would be tempting. I could be well off with him, but I don't think I am. I reckon we're onto a good thing with that one. But there's plenty more action still to go for. We've got did you think it's the 31st of January 2020 and we're talking about 14 the Machine in a novice chase? Jeez. But we will be talking about 14 the Machine in the Flow Gas. I'm going to keep mine short on this one. I like Tornado Flyer. I don't know what sort of trip he is. I've probably got that horse wrong. He's probably just not as good as he first looked like he was going to be, but I quite like him. I don't really like Easy Game. I've never really liked him. He's a substandard horse, but he could pick up the pieces if something bad happened. I love 14 the Machine. Who doesn't love 14 the Machine? But grade 1 race, going quick. Just fucking look after him, Paul Townend. Don't do anything silly. If it comes push to shove, just let Battle Over Doyen win, because he's going to pull your pants down anyway. Battle Over Doyen is probably the best novice chaser of the season, but he can't run at Cheltenham. So when it comes to the RSA and champs in there, if Battle Over Doyen had not pulled up at Cheltenham and he'd have run well there, even if he'd have run close, he was sent off favourite for the Ballymore, and he's a big price for the RSA now. On what he's done this season, he probably would deserve to be favourite for an RSA, but the reason is he can't run at Cheltenham. This isn't at Cheltenham, this is at Leopardstown. He's quick, he won over 2 miles as a novice hurdle, and he looked good then. 2 mile 5 in the Flow Gas. He's only 13 to 8 because Forheen's in there. Forheen's only the price that he is because Sam Crow fell, and Sam Crow can't breathe. He's got some sort of lung infection. He should stop smoking, shouldn't he? Battle Over Doyen is a ludicrous price, and although we don't want to be getting too excited about shorties, I reckon he is the bet of the whole weekend. Battle Over Doyen sluices up.
Bloody hell.
Should we just skip on to the Irish Gold Cup? Because I've covered it, haven't I?
Well, most of what you said there is true, apart from the absolute nonsense you spoke about Cheltenham.
Battle Over, no, I know, but Battle Over Doyen hates Cheltenham, doesn't he?
Champ would cruise past Battle Over Doyen, double-handed. Guaranteed double-handed.
In this?
Yeah, no, let's talk about this. Yeah, you're right.
No, I mean,
no,
imagine Champ was in here. Champ's come over to Leopardstown.
Yeah.
He's come over to keep Epatante company because Nicky Henderson fancies the Irish champion hurdle as well.
Yeah. Hoses up. Absolutely hoses up.
See,
he's going to win a Gold Cup.
I like Champ as much, well, not as much as the next man, because you are the next man. No one could love him as much as you. But I would. And if Champ ran in this, I'd get an even bigger prize than Battle Over Doyen. Battle Over Doyen is very undervalued as a horse as a chaser, just because he was so bad at Cheltenham. Before we went to Cheltenham, we fancied Champ for the Ballymore, didn't we? And it was gutting because he just looked like it wasn't a very good ride. All of those bits and pieces, just a bit annoying. But Battle Over Doyen, even though he went off favourite, we knew he was a good horse. There was just something about him that he just looked a bit meh.
What's he beaten? What is he beaten over fences?
Champagne Classic.
Mate, that was on very good ground. All the participants, all the rivals came out. They literally trotted round and then went from the last. And Champagne Classic was gaining on him at the finish, and he was all out.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Champagne Classic.
But that's why coming back to 2 mile 5 will suit Battle Over Doyen. The one thing that everyone's quick to forget is, there's these horses that just don't win very many races. They can end up being beautiful little yardsticks. So any second now, second season, or he might even be like a 10th season novice. He just doesn't win. He was the yardstick a couple of years ago for Footpad when he won the Arkle. He was 10, 11 lengths behind Footpad back in those days over the trip. Battle Over Doyen beat him fairly comfortably over 5 lengths. Did have to be ridden a little bit, but I'm just saying, at any second now, of all the experience, how much further forward he is, he hasn't. I don't think he's beaten mug horses. I just think Battle Over Doyen is just underappreciated as a horse. If Forheen wasn't in here, he'd be an odds-on poke. So maybe he's not underappreciated by the bookmakers. I think 13 to 8 is a cracking price on him. He's only a 7-year-old. He just will never win at Cheltenham.
I know he will win this, but I'm just saying in terms of Champ.
Exactly, yeah.
You're talking nonsense in terms of Champ. He'll probably win this. He'll probably scrape through this.
Oh yeah, if Champ was in this race, I'd be crapping my pants. I wouldn't be steaming into it. But Champ isn't in here, is he?
No, I reckon Faheen will put up a good fight, but he'll scrape. He'll scrape through, I reckon.
We watched his race together, didn't we, at Cheltenham, Faheen's, or we caught the last bits of it. Jesus Christ. I've seen obviously mistakes before, and I've seen a horse just running through fences. That was scary to watch. Obviously, he got through it. He was much better than on his last performance. That was a match between him and Sam Crow. Neither of them were going hell for leather. They were both sort of biding their time. Sam Crow had obviously fallen before that. It was just one of them that, given the names and the high profileness of it and all that bits and pieces, it looked like it was a really good race. But I'm not really sold by that. He's just a bit too short for me. I really do think Battle Over Doyen at the price is massive. If Battle Over Doyen was an even money poke, I wouldn't be so keen on him, but I'd still say a win. I think 13 to 8 is a stonking price. Load it up. Stephen, don't even try and put me off. What? But does he win?
To be honest, Battle Over Doyen does win this race.
We've done it. We've got a weekend nap, and we're all in agreement because I've made you agree with me. Anyone else like to know? What do you think of Faheen, Stephen? Because Daryl mentioned it before, and we've talked about it. The age of him, wasn't very keen of him going novice chasing, which I think a lot of people were like. What do you think of Faheen this season?
To be honest, yeah, I don't think he's done a lot wrong. I know he's made them crucial mistakes on his first win over fences, but he still got the job done. Last time I know Sam Crow wasn't at his best, but the way when Patrick Mullins asked him to quicken up, it was just so good to watch. The last two jumps were exceptional. I mean, I am finding it really hard to split the fair, but I do think Battle Over Doyen, because of his age, and 7-year-olds have a really strong record in this race. I think he'll get the measure for him.
Yeah, and it's sad because I wouldn't be disappointed if I was proved wrong. I'd be less rich, but I wouldn't be disappointed if Faheen did go and beat me. But it's one of these little moments where every now and again you can look at a chance where maybe a horse is going on a downward curve. It's easy to say he's a 12-year-old, all those bits and pieces. But that's why the last day, when he ran against Sam Crow and he was sent off second favourite, it was a gift, wasn't it? Same as when Bouverdere ran against Sam Crow in his second fight in fifth, and Sam Crow was favourite. Sam Crow's the single greatest racehorse to exist in the last few years because he just keeps giving us value on other horses. But now the fact that Faheen was obviously so impressive, he deserves to be this sort of price. But
yeah, I think a lot of people just, it's heart over head, isn't it? But like the age thing, I don't think you can really rely on the age thing because yeah, I know, but I'm just saying using it as a term of like who's got a good record and who's not. He's not the typical 12-year-old for one, and there's only been one horse older than 8 years old, I think, in like the last 6 years, 5 or 6 years to run in the race. Faheen's not the normal typical 12-year-old, is he? This was my problem at the start of the season. When I was moaning about him going over fences.
Yeah, it's when he gets his company. Yeah,
this is when it gets to this point. That was it. I said he'd trot round in novice chases or whatever. For instance, his debut, he was left alone on the front end, wasn't he? And he wasn't in mid-pack until he made that one mistake, and then he got out of it. Yeah. But the last day it was a small field. This is a proper Grade 1 test now, over 2 miles 5. This was my issue with him going chasing because he's done enough as far as I'm concerned. He's a legend of the game. Yep. He's brought in umpteen amount of euros prize money. That was my worry for him. So this will be interesting. I hope nothing happens to him. I really do because we want to see him come back safe. But will he be good enough to beat Battle Over Doyen? Perhaps not. It'll be a good race. It's one of the races of the weekend. Definitely.
And obviously, it goes without saying with all the horses, we want to see him come back. But I've commented in my blog as well. It feels like it with Faheen. Remember a couple of years ago when he fell and he took a heavy fall a couple of seasons ago, and I didn't think he'd come back. Then they come back and hurdle him over 3 miles. Now he's chasing. It is just the fact that when you get into Grade 1 company, regardless of how deep the race might be, it's proper racing. It's quicker. And not that he's not used to that sort of thing, but he's not used to it chasing, all those bits and pieces. There's enough negatives in there that I wouldn't want to be backing him, but obviously it's great to see him racing. Let's just hope they all come back sound. So, Irish Gold Cup, Grade 1. I've mentioned this before. I mean, I did say to you guys before I started recording this, I probably wouldn't say it, but fuck it. The staying chasers, I can't ever get excited about them. I enjoy watching the races. The Gold Cup's all of them. It's like the pinnacle of the sport. They're exciting to watch. Maybe it's because I'm not very good at getting them right, to be honest. But I don't really get very enthusiastic about it. The frustrating thing with it is, especially when I'm looking at this card, every runner bar one, which is Lebago War, is, well, and Jet, they're all 160 horses. You get some 170s horses in here. These are the creme de la creme of the chasers. But I feel so lethargic looking at a race like this. Ken Boy, his chance was last year. Delta Work, I was ready to write him off after his seasonal comeback, but he was good enough the last day to win. Fairly heap finish. One of them two will win the race, but there's not really much more I can say than that. Presenting Percy, just in case anyone doesn't know this, I have never liked the horse. And I just think he's way too short a price because of his fans, all that sort of stuff. But then I said he was the lay of the meeting when he won the RSA. And he only just won the RSA that year, mind. Jesus. Terrible, isn't it? But yeah, Chris's Dream's been back as well. Loads of people are putting him up. I know he won a handicap, but he won a handicap because he was well handicapped off a 146. He's not good enough to win this, surely. Daryl, put me out of my misery. Just tell me what wins.
You'd hope not. I'm a little bit the same as you when it comes to these races, Dave, to be honest. I don't really do a lot on the Gold Cup until it gets to the, do you know what I mean, a week or two before. Yeah. I've just got, do you know what, every time he lines up, I just have this replay of that RSA in my head and how impressive he was. He would have beaten Album Photo and he'd stayed on his feet, and he would have beat him quite comfortably. Now, that also went off, obviously, to win last year's Gold Cup. You know what I mean? You can't just dismiss that, can you? That's the issue with him.
Yeah.
Will it all be about Cheltenham? Will they have him spot? He should be pretty spot on for this, really, shouldn't he? You'd think.
Yeah, the two spins. Yeah.
I don't know. I can't have any of the bottom lot. I think it comes in the top three in the market. I'm losing. I was a massive fan of Ken Boy last year. Put him up for the Gold Cup, didn't I? 9-1. He fell at the first fence. And then he won everything afterwards. I just kind of got a feeling that was his year. That was sort of his time to do what he was going to do. Ken Boy needs to come out and be really impressive here to be a genuine Gold Cup contender, I feel. Delta Work by default. He doesn't bloody jump well enough. He hits too many fences on the way round, but he's got some engine, hasn't he? He must have. If he can hit all of those fences on the way round the course and he's still be running on. I felt he was unlucky in the RSA last year.
He was,
yeah. Mate, Davy Russell's on Presenting Percy, of course. It'll be interesting. I haven't got a selection yet. I haven't. I'm not putting my neck on the line just yet for this one.
I can't.
Yeah, I will. I'm going to side with Presenting Percy.
Oh God! Right, you're not coming on the show next time. Bollocks to it. Get it right. He might, if he's prepped for it and all that sort of stuff. I can't. I know the RSA was really impressive. I know he won a handicap before at Cheltenham, all those bits and pieces. He's won Galmoy hurdles or whatever he's won in between. He's won a few bits and pieces races, but I've just never really been on side of him. His best days are definitely past him. It would be embarrassing for the Irish if he was the best stay-in chaser they've got. I know Album Photo is not going to run him, and he is their best stay-in chaser, but if he's best to the rest, I'd be disappointed. Ken Boy, he was a nutter when he was an early chaser. There's a couple of great photos of him flying Paul Townend about in the air, and I've mentioned that a few times. I'm worried now. The thing at Cheltenham wasn't his fault. He just went into the back of Percy, didn't he? And that ruined both their races. And I'm not too much worried about his jumping now, but I am worried a little bit that he might regress a little bit into his former self now that he's come back after that break. There was the time off with the syndicate stuff. He was so keen in the Savills chase, he ruined himself. Whereas before, he went off in front because he was so keen and he was still good enough to win it. That class obviously just hasn't disappeared. I just wonder whether he's going to turn into a little bit of a sulker maybe now he's not the star of the show. Bits and pieces like that. I just worry about him. I think he's not quite right in the head, but we do like horses like that. Delta Work's only 7, and he was just so small at Cheltenham. I haven't seen him yet this season, so I'll be keen when he comes down to Cheltenham, but he needs to get a bit bigger. And like you say, he doesn't particularly jump very well, but if he does go and win this after winning the Savills chase and then goes and wins this, he's got to be a serious Gold Cup horse, isn't he?
Yeah.
But you just don't know what's going to happen. Stephen, put us out of our misery, mate. You just tell us. Just give us the 1, 2, 3 if that's all right. It'd be easier, wouldn't it?
The 1, 2, 3. Do you want them in? Do you want it in the correct order?
I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. You can get it in any order.
No, go correct order first.
Go on then.
Okay, well, I think the third best is Delta Work. He's a good horse, but I'm not a big fan of him, to be honest. I mean, he looked to be going nowhere last time until jumping the last fence, and then he just flew up the running.
Yeah.
And then in second, I'll have Ken Boy.
Ooh.
He needed the run last time. I mean, he's beat Albin Photo, which is probably the strongest form at the field.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then my top one, I'm going to agree with Dowler, and he's presenting Percy.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
What a boy.
Yeah.
Do you know?
I mean,
do you know what? I like the fact that he's got the fan club, all those bits and pieces, and like you can't argue with bits and pieces of his form. I mean, I am going to just bite my tongue now because I just keep banging on about it. But oh God, no, go on, make me a believer.
yeah, I mean, I followed him loads, and he's let me down quite a lot of times. But I'm going to give him one more chance. I mean, he was ridden out the back last time. He was never involved, despite staying on to be fit. I was just finding it so strange where David Russell just didn't use the whip at all. I'm still trying to understand that. But different tactics are going to be applied this time, which has been mentioned. So he'll be ridden a lot closer to the pace. I expect Davey to get properly stuck into him late in the day, and I think if he's going to have any chance of running a really good race in the Gold Cup at Cheltenham, he's got to be going close here.
Yeah, and it's easy to forget as well with him. He was sent off favourite for the Gold Cup last year. It wasn't his fault that Ken Boy jumped into the back of him. Obviously, he didn't run again after that, but we don't know how close he would have got or where his level of ability was. Obviously, running behind Min at Christmas, that was in the John Durkan. He was never going to get close to Min because we all know that he actually is a good horse. And considering he wasn't that far beaten by him, it probably was a reasonable effort. And I agree, Savills Chase definitely looked like he wasn't ridden to be winning that day. I'm surprised, actually. If anything, I'm a little disappointed that you didn't use the Palm form line as your reason for backing him.
I've been sitting here looking at that.
But yeah, no. To be fair, I do get why people like presenting Percy. I get all those bits and pieces. Maybe it's because I've just never backed him, and whenever I've backed against him, he's gone and done me in. I don't know. He could
He's
be.
He's not done that much wrong though, has he? Like he's not done that much wrong. Since his RSA when he won, like you say, won the Galmoy Hurdle in the Gold Cup, his saddle slipped. He was given terrible tactics. Held far too off the pace. Was never going to pick up the leaders like that. And then you being beaten by Min over a trip too short is no, only 3 1/4 lengths. It's no bad feat, is it? And then the last time looked like he was going to come on a ton for that run, didn't he? Like Stephen said, no use of the whip. Maybe the preparation is just much better this time around, and they have got the Gold Cup firmly in mind.
Yeah, and that was it last season, though. The amount of times that they were going to race him, I can't remember, maybe it was Galway, somewhere moved the fences round for him, didn't they? They did the track the other way round. So he could go left-handed and have a prep. It's like one of them sort of things, and he's sort of people-ish horse. You know what, I should know this off the top of my head. What sort of price is he for the Gold Cup proper then? Because considering he was sent off 100 to 30 favourite for it, he could run well and still get beat in this race, couldn't he? What sort of poke is he for the big one? 10s, do you reckon? 12s?
I'll tell you, hold on a sec. He is...
Third. Yeah, 10s, top price. And that's non-run and no bet with Bet365 or Sky Bet. I'm not saying that he won't run, but...
While we're talking about the Gold Cup, can we just mention Santini? I'd like to know what...
Just because you want to have a go at him.
I want to know what Stephen's opinion on Santini's run in the Cotswold last week was. I'm not going to try and argue.
No, that's fine. I just thought he was completely solid. He didn't do anything wrong. I know Bristol they made him make a few mistakes, but I don't know. He seems like the kind of best mate type of horse to me. He jumps well enough. I think the Boinville can ride him, keep him going up with the pace. I think he's going to go close, to be honest.
Yeah. I think...
Yes, let me in. So, I'm with Stephen on this. Best mate is the best analogy you could give Santini. And I'll get abused for this as well. Everyone will sound too young to remember all that sort of stuff. But best mate's 3 Gold Cups. If you actually look at them in the class of horses that he's beaten, are probably 3 of the worst Gold Cups in recent history. And that's not to take away the fact that he won 3 Gold Cups. It's nice for a horse to do that. But that's the thing with Santini. He might not technically be the classiest or the best horse in the race, but he ticks loads of boxes. He's getting better every season, I think. And he had to beat Bristol de Mai at the Cotswold Chase. I know Bristol de Mai made the mistake, bits and pieces like that, but they were so far clear of the two horses, and they were battling out for third as well. I reckon it was a pretty good run. I think he might want a little bit of juice in the ground when it comes to Friday, and I am worried about him with loads of other horses around him.
Yeah.
He's one of them, like how Annabelle Fly just stays up the hill at the end of it. Annabelle Fly's not a quick horse. Santini's not a quick horse. I can just see Santini being close enough to actually get fairly close to him. I think he'll definitely be in the first three without a shadow of a doubt.
It'd be like the slow motion Annabelle Fly, wouldn't he? Do you know what the weird thing about him is that I've slagged him off for so long, right? Well, I have slagged him off for so long.
No, don't tell me you like him.
No, I don't like him. No, I don't like him. But he is one of those horses that's got like that. He's got like a big raw ability, like almost like he's not putting no effort in. Do you know what I mean? He's not trying. He's very lazy. He's not trying. And I just hope that the day of the Gold Cup, he doesn't decide to try. Because, mate, they're going to have to ride him so prominently in this Gold Cup because they could just leave him behind. They really could. If he makes one mistake at his fences, they could just leave him behind because he's just not got that natural ability just to quicken and get back on the pace. You know, he was often on the bridle track in Bristol de Mai. And the one thing that would concern me with, it was not a bad performance. Forget the times that I went and timed it with, as you know, but we've definitely read and all that, and he was far behind, whatever. Bristol de Mai doesn't stay the Gold Cup trip. He doesn't. If you want to go back and watch his last 3 or 4 runs at Cheltenham, he doesn't get up that hill. He fades. Yeah. And it just concerned me, the distance that he put between himself and Bristol de Mai. He doesn't do a lot in front, Santini.
No, definitely.
He just might get picked up if he hits the front too soon as well.
But that's where I reckon his best attribute is the fact that he's probably a little bit slower because if he hits the front, he won't be hitting the front before the last or just after the last. He'll pace up and then he'll get there, I reckon. Interesting thing I think with him is it's just the fact that how close he was with Bristol de Mai. The Gold Cup last year, where we were saying about Kenboy being held up, presenting Percy, didn't particularly suit them. I don't know time-wise, but to my eye, they were all so close together, it looked like they went so slow in the Gold Cup last year. And it's easy to compare it to what Might Bite and Native River did the year before. I think in the Gold Cup with Santini, the reason like Bristol de Mai finished so close last year is because they went slow and he was able to stay with them. If that happens this year, if they went the same sort of pace as last year, Santini I think he'll win the Gold Cup. If something goes off hell for leather like Native River or Might Bite did, and goes off and goes clear, it would worry me that he'd pick him up. And that's what I think they might have to do with Kenboy this year. They held him up last year and he made a mistake. They might just decide to try and go and force the issue. Yeah. But it just depends on pace. But that's the thing with Santini. I think a few things have got to fall in his favour, haven't they? I'm glad to hear you're coming round, though. And
I'm not coming round.
You love him.
I could have a proper bad Cheltenham. The horses I've slagged off, Pendant Hills, Santini.
Pendant Hills don't win. Don't worry.
No, I know, but could you imagine?
No, but it can't. There's more chance of Leopardstown winning it, and she's got no chance.
Sharjah, that's another one.
Yeah. Well, when you mentioned about Santini, about like knowing he's there for the Gold Cup, I reckon all along this has just been a game for him. He's just Albert Bartlett. Are you taking the piss? Don't want to win RSA Gold Cup. This is more like it, boys. And I like it. I'm glad to see you're turning around him because you never used to talk that positively about him. And also, he had foot issues last year. We all know that. Right. We've got to finish off Punchestown Day 2, or Leopardstown. Sorry if anyone was bored by that. But if you've managed to stay through, we've got a mare's bumper. Grade 2. It's a beauty. You know I bang on about it all the time about second season novices, second season this, second season that. Big, Bad and Beautiful is a beast. But she is a second season bumperer. So she was second in this race last year, or third, second last year. She's been good since. This would be a harder test, I think. That Castra Vitera of Joseph O'Brien's is definitely interesting. Big, Bad and Beautiful should be winning this, but you can't be backing her at the price that she is. I wouldn't want to be taken wrong with that Castra Vitera because I think that's short enough. The bookies have probably got it about right. There's a few interesting ones in here with breeding, but the most interesting one, bar none, and I did say this about Gin Online, watch its French run and see how well it will run in that race, and it was absolute pish. But Mine Sunday, the bottom weight, So sport's a tongue-tied first time, which I've mentioned before. I don't really like horses first time on a race course with any sort of equipment. 10 stone 2 it carries, so it's getting stone and a half off of Big Bad and Beautiful. But the most interesting thing about him is he's with the owners that have got the likes of Whisper, people like that, so they're well-established owners. This is a half-brother, or half-sister, sorry, to Master Dino. And there would have been loads of options. Like they could have gone, stuck this in a point. They could have done whatever they wanted with it. Now, it may be that they're looking for black type. She's crap. Let's get her in off of a 40-year-old allowance. Get her to finish 7th. And then when we put her in the tax enclosure, she was 50 lengths behind Big Bad and Beautiful. She can sell her for another 20 euros. But I think if she is actually quite good, but getting that weight and she's 20 to 1 poke, she'd be the only one I'd be interested in. Not for like a sizable pump, but 20 to 1, you can have a tenner on, can't just sit back, relax. Big Bad and Beautiful should be winning this, but you can't be backing her at the price. Have you guys looked at it? Stephen, any thoughts on it?
I haven't got a strong opinion on this, but one that has caught my eye was Lady Temperance.
Patrick Mullins for Mags Mullins, yeah.
Yeah, won nicely on debut under Patrick Mullins. We know he's got a great record in bumpers. The stable do well in these type of races, and I can see that one running a good race here.
The 20 to 1 poke as well, isn't it? So potentially could play against the field, couldn't you? Back a couple of them. Get place betting as well on the exchanges. Daryl, have you had a look at it? Probably not.
Nah,
Right.
sorry, mate. I don't have time for that.
Don't apologise because she was mentioned in episode 1. She's going to be mentioned in this episode. She was the next best thing. She is Lorena. So we're going to move to Sandown for the Scilly Isles Novice Chase. Last year, Defi de Soil, lost in translation. It was a beautiful race. Vindication ran that, didn't he? Did Vindication go a favourite for the Scilly Isles last year? I've got a feeling he might have done.
Yes. No, yeah, he did. 11 to 8, yeah.
So what is wrong with the world when Vindication's gone off? Okay, I actually do feel a little bit nauseous, but not that I'm going to use that in any way in this race, but just for a second, let me use that in this race. Lorena, I don't know what she is on numbers. Daryl will definitely know. Lorena is well in terms of the allowance and her official rating. She's unbeatable on heavy ground. She's already won around the track. She's 15 to 8, lads.
Mad, isn't it?
Someone stop me putting the money on before the missus comes downstairs, because I do you know what? I looked at this race when we did the Monday thing, saw she was entered, and I thought, you know what? She probably will come over because it's sand and all those bits and pieces. But again, short-term anti-poach definitely would be getting stuck in. I looked at Itchy Feet and I thought, oh, Itchy Feet might be a bit of value. Sort of partly thinking, oh, maybe she won't come over. Then as the week went on and I saw, well, I think it was yesterday or the day before, the money started coming, I was thinking, actually, hang on a minute. I was a bit of a mug not to back her. Saw she was 2 to 1 yesterday before, obviously, final bets came in, and I thought, she won't even be 2 to 1 tomorrow. I can't believe she's this price. Daryl, surely she's shit signing.
Mate, this is a big mistake by the bookies opening her up at 5 to 2, 2 to 1, and whatever they opened her up at. I know she was definitely 2 to 1 at one point with a lot of firms.
Yeah.
Look, you have to forgive the fact that she bled last time, but you know that is a more of a common thing than a lot of people realise. That does happen to plenty of horses. And when they've bled, it just means there's a bit of blood in the nostrils. It's not that big of an issue, you know, provided she's safe and sound, of course. But she steps back up to trip, back up in trip. We've seen it twice now. 2 miles doesn't work for her. She steps back up in trip at a course that she enjoys, on ground that she loves. And she's got £14 in hand. She's rated 159. The closest rated rival to her is Grand Sonsi at 152. Yeah. Right? So she's got £7 there. She then gets a £7 allowance. She's got stone in hand. You know, it's 2 to 1 is madness, right? I've been, as you know, I follow novice chasers all the time. That's what I do. I study their jumping techniques and all that. I've been following these British novices all season long, right? So it'd be a bit embarrassing if I get this wrong, but these British novices are not that great at all. They're nowhere near going to be winning at the Cheltenham Festival, right? This race has been run in recent years by the likes of Defi de Soil, Terra Fort, Top Notch, Bristol Demai, Oscar Whiskey. You know, decent horses win this race, and it's a good trial for the Marsh Chase at Cheltenham, right? Good Boy Bobby is the biggest threat to Lorena, without doubt, in my opinion. But He ran his best race when behind Brewing Up a Storm on return at Carlisle over 2 miles. It was a really speedy time, really fast close-up sectionals. He hit a couple of fences and he still stayed on powerfully, right? But over 2 miles, 4 furlongs, he has not been the same horse as he was over 2 miles. Yeah. So I don't quite think that he's going to be able to live with Lorena. Okay, she jumps well when she's going. She's going to be able to dictate this pace, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Someone's tipped up Champagne Platinum. They must be out on it. Champagne Platinum, Vision to Flow. He was impressive last time. But he gets too tight into his fences. He is going to either unseat or he's going to just lose far too much ground by hitting the fences continuously. Midnight Shadow, I don't think has got that much improvement to come. Grand Sancy's interesting. Itchy Feet's another interesting. But they've all got to take a massive step forward here to beat Lorena. And I think I think she should be a shade of odds on, 10 to 11.
I'd agree. If I was chalking this up, because Good Boy Bobby, you've mentioned this, or you put me onto this. He's got to go right-handed, we think, don't we?
Yeah. Got to go right-handed. He jumps out to his right. He did it. It was interesting when he ran at Wetherby. He'd only just got home over Ravenhill Road. Now that form was boosted, but he jumped out to his right a couple of times that day, and then they sent him back to Cheltenham against Mr. Fisher, and he did the same thing there. He is going to benefit from a right-handed track, and his jumping is fair. It's not outstanding, but it's a fair standard of jumping. Yeah. But I just can't see him. He's going to need to improve.
I agree.
And pounds to win this.
He's 146 at the moment as well, so you never know. I know we're saying their preference might be right-handed, but they managed to get him down a pound after this. He could go in the Close Brothers, couldn't he? Itchy Feet, we've touched on as well. I mean, I like Itchy Feet. He was good over the trip. Ollie Murphy said this is where he'll stay for the rest of the season. He's another one that's a bleeder, bled after the Supreme. And when I was at Kempton, I've mentioned this umpteen times, I fancied him that day. There was sewing up with him. He didn't go into the pre-parade. He went straight to the parade ring. Ollie Murphy was running around. I actually didn't think they were going to run him. Not that I knew that anything was wrong or anything like that, but there was definitely something amiss that first day. So he's still potentially a really nice horse. Grand Sancy's interesting. We watched him, didn't we, when he ran in the Henry VIII, and he'll be better over a trip. Nichols does okay in this race, I think, historically. So interesting one. But all of that said, Lorena's, well, she's not £14 in or £15 in technically, Daryl, because you get £7 claimers, and then you get jockeys that are basically adding weight to her. Nico de Boinville, I wouldn't say he's out there, but given the fact they've not even bothered to send anyone over to ride her, I wouldn't imagine she's a difficult ride. The thing is, she's just way too big a price. It's one of them again that if she was like an even money shot or an odds-on shot, given the fact that she bled and bits and pieces like that, you'd think, I wouldn't want to be getting stuck in. But when they're 2 to 1-ish, you'd be mad not to back it. It's a value play. I mean, I think she'll win. Obviously, if she bleeds and all that sort of stuff, no one can predict those bits and pieces. But she wins.
Yeah, I agree. But you mentioned Itchy Feet as a bleeder as well. But no one will use that. No one will use that in their argument. Do you know what I mean? They're only using the argument against Lorena because they thought that they found something last time and whatnot. Nicky Henderson's got a really good record in this race. He's won it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in the last 10 years. So that's probably why Champagne Platinum's got a tip. But you couldn't back in with someone else's money, could you, at the moment?
No, definitely. Stephen, we've waffled about it too much there. Any way you can put us off Lorena, or are you in the same camp?
I'm in the same camp. I think Price is an absolute steal. I think a main danger is Good Boy Bobby, because he's probably going to go off at a decent clip. I noticed he was jumping to his right last time out, so going this way around definitely suit better. But I think he'll set it up for Lorena, to be honest. I mean, she's won at the course before. She was fourth in a champion hurdle, which I can't see any of the rest of this field finishing fourth in a champion hurdle.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, and she wasn't even at her best that day either. So, Lorena's the one.
And this is the sort of thing where people ask me quite often about how do you, like, when you're saying value, all that sort of stuff, how do you work it out? This is the easiest example for it, because I think you'd struggle to find a single person that would say if Lorena was 100% sound, that i.e. she doesn't bleed, she wins this. If she bleeds or whatever, then she gets beat. The chances of her bleeding again, you can't really work out what the odds might be. She may never bleed again. She might bleed again. But you could probably put it down as a coin flip. You could say it's 50-50 whether she bulks up or she doesn't. She should be an even money, even just based on that little tiny logic. The fact that she's 7 to 4, she's got to be a play. Not saying stick your life on it. Doesn't mean you've got to go over the top with your bets, all those sort of things. But you'd be a bit mad to be taking her on, I think.
Yeah, the one thing we should also mention is that value, the word value, doesn't actually really exist. It's only ever in the eye of the beholder.
Correct.
You could look at this Lorena race and think, she bled last time, she pulled up, she's a terrible price, and it's not value to you. But to somebody else who can make a strong case for her, it could potentially be valued. So it's all on how you feel and what you want to do with the price. But I personally think she's a cracking bet.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it. Like you say, it's the same with the stats and all those bits and pieces. They can get you so far. Value is all about perception. That's the reason why people like bookmakers will get it wrong, we'll get it wrong, we'll get it right, the bookmakers will get it right. It's just a difference of opinions. And it's because of the fact that they're not machines, they're animals, anything can happen. We haven't got, although people can time it, not everything's run on the same conditions, all those bits and pieces. There's so many variables in there. That's why we get the difference in price, don't we? But I would say she's the wrong price. You'd struggle to find someone that would disagree with that. I think even the people that want to take her on wouldn't want to be laying her at 2-1, would they? We'll try and do that later, Daryl. We'll go on Twitter and we'll find a few people that don't like her and see if they'll give us 2-1. They won't.
Yeah, they will, won't they?
Before that, we've got the contenders hurdle. So this is I really do like this race. Not just like as a race in general. I'd like this race this year. Just because Cool My Lord and Eldorado Allen, the champion hurdle we've touched on, and everyone talks about it being like substand, all those bits and pieces. I can never buy into that because until it gets to the day, the champion hurdle never disappoints. It's always a quality finish. They were knocking Bouverdaire's particular wins, all that sort of stuff. Then you look at last year, Lorena Apples, Jade Bouver's in there. Espoir de Land then goes and wins by a mile. It's always a really, really good race. But given the fact that it is still a little bit cagey and people have got thoughts, Cornwall did win at Cheltenham in the International. It was just going left-handed. Daryl, you made a really good case for him, saying that it was never a concern, or it shouldn't have been a concern for people, all that sort of stuff. You made a strong case for him to go and win, and he duly obliged. He could potentially, off that back of that performance, you wouldn't think he was maybe a champion out of winning, but he could still be a lively outsider. He's still 16-1 for the champion hurdle. Eldorado Allen was one that he was such a good novice, got bumped into with no fault of his own. Obviously had a setback. Serious performance from him off the weight that he carried to finish where he finished, and they were well clear. More a clever ride than anything, I think, because they stayed right off the pace with him. But he potentially, getting £6 here, isn't too far off of a Cornwall Lord. So if one of these two horses did go and absolutely hack up, you could argue Eldorado Allen might be the bounce factor if Cornwall Lord bolted up. But if one of these two does go and win it comfortably, I reckon they go straight into the champion hurdle picture. Cornwall Lord loves it round here. He likes the slow ground. Eldorado Allen likes it round here. He'll be happy enough on the ground. I think I know it's not just a 2-horse race, but I picture it as an absolute 2-horse race. I'm really excited about watching this one. The prices are about right now, 4-6 Cornwall Lord, just over 2-1 for Eldorado Allen. Earlier in the week, Eldorado Allen was 7-2, and they were confirmed that he was going to come here. I did get a bit of that because I thought that was just too big a price. I'm really excited in terms of a race just to sit back and watch. I mean, even though I backed Eldorado Allen, it's a race I just want to sit back and watch. I think it's really exciting. Stephen, what do you make of it, mate?
To be honest, I can't surpass Cornwall Lord, despite him being short price. He was impressive at Cheltenham last time, but I actually think he's clearly obvious he's a better horse at Sandown with his record there. So coming here on the back of that win, despite carrying a penalty, I can't see past him, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair enough, and I think a lot of people are feeling the same. Daryl, are you in the same camp?
I'm not entirely. I'm not sure. Look, Cornwall Lord's got a great record at Sandown. Form figures are 3-1-2, 1-1, and that 3 came in the Imperial Cup where he gave something like £28 to, the rapid improver Monsieur Lecoq. So he's got a fantastic record here. He does like it here. He is a very good horse, but he is under a penalty, and Eduardo Allen on the figures has only got £2 to find on the ratings. And basically what you're saying is that you don't think Eldorado Allen is going to improve £2 from his run after more than 2 years off. That's what you're saying if you're taking 6-4 or 4-6 about Cornwall Lord. I don't think any of the others have got a chance. Caldeste and Sam Bella Benson. Definitely think it's at the top 2. I wasn't overly impressed with Eldorado Allen's run when beaten by Mill Green here the last day. But it did scream that he was going to come on a little bit for that. And if he can improve a couple of pounds, he's not as big as the prices suggest that they should be. Do you know what I mean? But, you know, Call Me Lord has got that 160 rating for predominantly running here at Sandown. So he's going to run up to that mark. So he will need, Eldorado Adam will need to improve. But there's no saying that he can't do it.
And I think the interesting thing as well is, like I mentioned, I feel like Call My Lord is the right favourite. There's no doubt in that.
Yeah.
It is. It's just the fact that I think these two are well clear of the other ones. And if one of these two does go and bolt up, even if it's Call My Lord, I know he's an odds-on player, but if Call My Lord does go and win by 10, like I say, people might blame it on the bounce for Eldorado Allen, but I'd take that at face value. I think he's a genuine champion hurdle contender. And likewise, if Eldorado Allen goes and wins this by a good few lengths, I reckon he could be champion hurdlish contender. Interesting thing with Eldorado Allen, Daryl, is sometimes when I'm bored on a Saturday afternoon, I'll just back a horse on the exchanges just before the off because I know I'll be able to lay it in running. So I backed Eldorado Allen 2 minutes before the off. It was about 8 to 1. I think he was 6 to 1 with the bookies. He went out to 17 to 1 on the machine. Like just before the off, he just kept drifting. Then the one in front just went off like a nutter, didn't it? So he just hung out the back. I'm thinking I've just literally just blown a few quid just for the sake of having a little bet in it. And then he did come back into it and he did trade odds on. So I know it's not always just about the exchanges, but he wasn't, considering he looked like he was off a good mark in a handicap, all those bits and pieces, he wasn't fancied at all to run well that last day. And the fact that he did get so close to Mill Green after it, I'd be prepared to potentially upgrade it. That doesn't mean that's all true, but I thought it was good. It's just interesting that Colin Tizard's recent comments have said whatever happens, he'll be a cracking chaser for next season, and that always worries me slightly when they're already thinking about next season, and especially when they mention fences. Because if he won a champion hurdle, you wouldn't be sending him for an Arkle. So if they already talk about that, it worries me a tiny bit. But I think
they didn't go as hard as it looked either that day. Sandown stole 6 or 7 at the start, and he slowed it down right down the back, and then kicked on again. But I don't know, that piece of form. I know he's not got much to find on the ratings because of that second place finish there. He went up £5 for that. You just have to be a little bit sceptical of that form. I think I'm going to stick with Call Me Lord, but I'm not going to back him at 4 to 6 because of how little there is for Eldorado Allen to find. So.
And I think that's what I think. Call My Lord is probably the most likely winner of it. Like I said, it's just interesting for me, especially because I think the champion hurdle pitch is a bit open, unless Saudia runs because that hacks up. But you can get 16 to 1 Call My Lord for a champion hurdle. He probably is going to go and win this. He's got the international form. He's the sort of horse when they start doing the old previews coming up to Cheltenham, he'll be 12 to 1, 14 to 1 maybe. Everyone will be talking about him. He's each way value. He'll go off single figures on the day for the champion hurdle if he goes and wins this. So that's a potentially tempting proposition. Eldorado Allen, I still thinks, I don't know, probably 33s, 40s, 50s for a champion hurdle. So I touched on him before he ran in the handicap that he might be a bit of value back then when he was like 50s. He could still potentially be a little bit of value. Again, small stakes, non-run no bet you've got to play with. That might be the way to look at this sort of race. Is there anything else away from Leopardstown, those 2 races at Sandown that either of you want to talk about, bring up? Steve, anything from you?
No, nothing from me. No.
You've got 5 minutes until the missus has said I've got to give you back. Do you want to use it?
I just want to mention one thing. It's not a horse. It's just about on a Friday afternoon. If you've got nothing better to do, you've got the afternoon, or you've got something, you're not doing anything. William Hill are always first to price up the races on a Saturday, right? And they've made so many mistakes today that your account probably won't last long, but you can capitalise on it. For instance, in the 12:40 today, Flicko Voyou of Paul Nicholls by far sets the standard. And you can probably see, Dave, if you're looking at it now, they opened him at 4 to 1. Ridiculous mistake. 3 or 4 minutes later, it's been hammered into 15 to 8. I got on at freeze, luckily enough. But they did that all throughout the Sandown card today. They did it with Lorena, opening her up at 2 to 1. They did another horse somewhere out, a few horses. And over at Musselburgh, just keep an eye out. If you're not doing nothing and you are waiting for a horse to be priced up, keep Odds Checker open and keep flickering it because, you know, they do make these mistakes and it can be costly for them.
They do, yeah. 2A Permi was the one that I put up a little while ago when he got beat by the Jam. It was 14-1 they opened him and he went off at 5-2. It's obscene. The annoying thing about that bloody day was I said the only danger was the bloody Jam man, and he won at 33s and I didn't even have a saver on it. That's absolute rookie gambling. Right, that's enough misery for me now. Thank you very much, guys, for your time. I need to get these uploaded out there. Fingers crossed for a good couple of days. Obviously, the Colossus thing we've already mentioned for the first day stuff. No one's watched it now. We're an hour in for day 2, haven't we? They've all gone to bed. But thank you, guys. I appreciate you guys coming on. We'll sort something out. It's Newbury Super Saturday next week, so I'll get in touch about if we could do something for that as well. All right, guys?
Yeah, no worries. Cheers, lads.
Nice one.
Take care.
Thank you, guys.